You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Around every entry point and every clever attacker, Vectra sees the attacks others can't. How? Vectra has AI on it. Vectra's AI attack signal intelligence tells security teams where to focus, what matters. It wades through thousands of individual threat events so you don't have to. Attackers infiltrating your network? Vectra has AI on it. Attackers compromising your identities? Vectra has AI on it. Vectra AI, the integrated signal powering your XDR. Visit vectra.ai/showme to learn more. That's vectra.ai/showme to learn more. Brazilian authorities arrest the alleged USDoD hacker. The DOJ indicts the alleged operators of Anonymous Sudan. CISA and its partners warn of Iranian brute force password attempts. A new report questions online platforms' ability to detect election disinformation. Recent security patches address critical vulnerabilities in widely used platforms. North Korean threat actors escalate their fake IT worker schemes. CISA seeks comments on product security bad practices. Dealing effectively with post-breach stress. Tim Starks, senior reporter at CyberScoop, joins us to discuss what's new from this year's Counter Ransomware Initiative Summit. And Redbox DVD rental machines get a reboot. It's Thursday, October 17th, 2024. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It is great to have you with us. Brazilian authorities recently arrested a hacker allegedly linked to the alias USDoD, who is accused of multiple high-profile cyber attacks. The individual was behind breaches of the FBI's InfraGard platform, which connects law enforcement with private critical infrastructure organizations, as well as attacks on Airbus, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and others. The hacker also claimed to have leaked a vast database with nearly 900 million Social Security numbers from U.S. background check firm National Public Data. The arrest follows Operation Data Breach, a Brazilian federal police initiative investigating breaches of their own systems and international targets. The suspect, whose identity was linked to one Luan G., a 33-year-old man from Minas Gerais, Brazil, admitted responsibility for the attacks in a public statement. He had long been under investigation by cybersecurity firms like CrowdStrike, which shared their findings with Brazilian authorities. In a public confession, Luan acknowledged his defeat and expressed readiness to face the consequences of his actions. The suspect's activities included selling sensitive data from breached organizations and boasting of his involvement in cyber intrusions. The operation to arrest him is part of a broader effort by Brazilian authorities to crack down on cybercrime. The U.S. Department of Justice has indicted 2 Sudanese nationals for operating the cybercriminal group Anonymous Sudan, responsible for launching over 35,000 DDoS attacks against U.S. and global targets. These attacks impacted critical infrastructure, corporate networks, and government agencies, including the FBI, Department of Justice, Microsoft, and Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Some attacks caused significant disruptions, including shutting down Cedars-Sinai's emergency department for 8 hours. In March of this year, U.S. authorities seized and disabled the group's DDoS tool as part of a coordinated international law enforcement effort. The indictment alleges that the group not only performed these attacks but also sold access to their DDoS tool, enabling other criminal actors to launch further assaults. Anonymous Sudan's attacks, conducted through a tool known as Godzilla, resulted in over $10 million in damages to U.S. victims. The group's platform targeted critical sectors such as healthcare, government, and private companies, causing prolonged outages and operational damage. The FBI, with assistance from international law enforcement agencies and private sector partners, took down the group's infrastructure as part of Operation Power Off. The operation focused on dismantling global DDoS for hire networks. A joint cybersecurity advisory from CISA, the FBI, NSA, and other international authorities warns that Iranian cyber actors are increasingly using brute force methods like password spraying and push bombing to target global critical infrastructure sectors. These attackers focus on healthcare, government, IT, and energy sectors to steal credentials and gain deeper access to systems. The advisory highlights that Iranian actors have exploited MFA vulnerabilities and sold stolen credentials, urging organizations to enhance security by implementing phishing-resistant MFA and monitoring for suspicious logins and behaviors. An investigation from the nonprofit NGO Global Witness tested YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok's ability to detect election disinformation. Results showed mixed performance. TikTok performed the worst, approving 50% of disinformation ads, despite a ban on political content. Facebook improved significantly, rejecting 7 out of 8 ads, though one containing false election information was accepted. YouTube flagged half of the ads but required additional identification before publishing, leaving room for improvement. The report says that social media platforms, especially TikTok, must enhance their content moderation systems to prevent election disinformation, especially with the 2024 U.S. presidential election looming. We've got a roundup of recent security patches addressing critical vulnerabilities in widely used platforms. A vulnerability in GitHub Enterprise Server's SSO and SAML authentication could allow an attacker to bypass protections and impersonate users. The flaw affects versions up to 3.10.4 and has been patched in newer releases. Cisco issued fixes for high-severity flaws in its analog telephone adapters, potentially allowing remote attackers to launch code execution or denial-of-service attacks. And F5 patched a high-severity privilege escalation vulnerability in its Big IP product that could allow attackers with restricted access to elevate privileges and gain control of systems. As always, patch 'em if you got 'em. North Korean threat actors, notably the Nickel Tapestry Group, have escalated their attacks in their fake IT worker schemes, according to SecureWorks. These actors, previously focused on collecting paychecks, now engage in data theft and extortion. In one case, a contractor quickly stole proprietary data and demanded a ransom from their former employee, threatening to publish the data online. This shift raises the risk for companies employing North Korean IT workers, who now seek larger sums through rapid data theft. Tactics include using personal laptops, rerouting corporate devices, masking IP addresses, and employing virtual desktop setups. To mitigate risks, companies are advised to thoroughly vet candidates, monitor suspicious behavior, and restrict unauthorized access tools. This evolution reflects North Korea's ongoing efforts to fund its regime through cybercrime. CISA has released a draft of its Product Security Bad Practices Guidance for public comment. Part of CISA's Secure by Design initiative, this guidance highlights risky security practices, especially for organizations supporting critical infrastructure. It targets software manufacturers, offering non-binding recommendations to improve product security across on-premises software, cloud services, and SaaS. The guidance covers product properties, security features, and organizational policies. CISA seeks feedback from stakeholders by December 2nd of this year to refine the recommendations further. An article from Bank Info Security highlights the intense stress often faced by cybersecurity professionals, particularly in the aftermath of a breach. The pressure to contain damage, restore operations, and protect sensitive data can be overwhelming. Every decision feels critical, as it impacts both the company's future and the individual's job security. Additionally, leaders like CISOs are increasingly held accountable, sometimes facing legal consequences, further raising the stakes. Post-incident stress is worsened by scrutiny from management, clients, and regulators, all demanding answers. The fear of making mistakes under pressure adds to the psychological burden, often leading to burnout and, in severe cases, symptoms similar to PTSD. Burnout has become a growing concern in the field, driven by long hours and high expectations, especially during post-breach recovery. This can lead to mistakes, increasing the risk of future incidents and creating a vicious cycle of stress and burnout. The article emphasizes the importance of organizational support. Clear post-incident protocols, mental health resources, and stress management workshops can help professionals cope with these challenges. Building emotional resilience, encouraging mindfulness, and fostering team collaboration are also key strategies to manage the demands of the job. By taking these steps, organizations can help their cybersecurity teams manage post-incident stress more effectively, ensuring both personal well-being and professional performance remain strong. Coming up after the break, my conversation with Tim Starks from CyberScoop. We're discussing this year's Counter Ransomware Initiative Summit. Stay with us. Identity architects and engineers, simplify your identity management with Strata. Securely integrate non-standard apps with any IDP, apply modern MFA, and ensure seamless failover during outages. Strata helps you avoid app refactoring and reduces legacy tech debt, making your identity systems more robust and efficient. Strata does it better and at a better price. Experience stress-free identity management and join industry leaders in transforming their identity architecture with Strata. Visit strata.io/cyberwire, share your identity challenge, and get a free set of AirPods Pro. Revolutionize your identity infrastructure now. Visit strata.io/cyberwire. And our thanks to Strata for being a longtime friend and supporter of this podcast. And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the National Science Foundation's CyberCore Scholarship for Service program, which covers tuition, required fees, university-sponsored health insurance, and a $6,000 annual professional development allowance, as well as providing a $37,000 additional annual stipend. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI. It is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
So I want to talk about your recent coverage in CyberScoop about this year's Counter Ransomware Initiative Summit. I want to say your write-up on this is by far the most in-depth reporting that I saw on the event. So congratulations on that. And can we dig into some of the details here? I mean, what prompts this event? What's some of the backstory here?
Yeah, this has been going for a few years now. White House-led initiative saying we need to join forces with other countries on ransomware. It's a global problem, and they've gotten up to 68 countries in the Counter Ransomware Initiative now. The idea is we can do it better together than alone. The U.S. obviously has a lot of capabilities in cyberspace, but there are countries that I hadn't even heard of that are now part of this ransomware initiative. That's how far it's gone in terms of allies and people. That there's a kind of a mix of people who are probably more needing help than giving help. But I think the idea is over time, rising tide lifts all boats. So maybe those countries that have lesser capabilities now could be helping us later. It's US led, but there are various pieces of this that are broken off and led by other allies. Like Australia has a piece, and Canada has a piece, and the UK has a piece. And they've got more plans coming forward. Even though we're coming to the end of an administration, they've already started laying the groundwork for what they want to do next year.
So, what does the actual summit itself look like? How do they organize this event?
This is something new they did this year. They have breakout sessions where they talk about both policy areas and regional developments. This is something they told me was new this year, that this idea of having regional groups being able to have meetings and talk about things they're facing in a specific region. So that's one way they do it. I think the other way is just that I think that this was last week that they had. I'm sorry about if that timing doesn't work to explain, but I'll sort of for the week they did it, they had a total of 3 regular days where they broke it up and talked about different parts of things. One of the days was actually focused on the overlap between AI and cybersecurity. And then they had another optional operational day where they would be able to really get into specific kind of capacity building. This is how this works. This is the way we do this. That's the way it worked this year, and that was different than previous years.
Are there any conspicuous nations missing from this? The usual suspects of our adversaries?
Yes, that's the one. There has been some discussion in the past years about whether Russia could get involved. That doesn't seem to be in the cards right now. The nations that are probably the biggest sponsors of ransomware aren't going to be part of this alliance. It is pretty much the allies. I mean, we're not going to see Iran joining this group, I don't think. The people who are doing the harm, or who are nations that are hosting the harm, we're not seeing them participate in that. And that makes a certain amount of sense. Although, in an ideal world, maybe the Russian government would participate because they don't want ransomware hackers doing bad things to the rest of the world. But as it happens, it's pretty convenient for them that the ransomware hackers can work for them sometimes, and make money and find things out that they couldn't find out on their own, or didn't find out on their own.
So when this wraps up and everybody heads back to their nations, are they sent with action items? Are there agreements that we're going to try to do these things before we get together again next year? Yeah.
So they actually kind of divided this up in terms of who was going to be leading what pieces. So Germany and Nigeria are going to be heading up the diplomacy and capacity building part of this. Australia and Lithuania, they're going to be the operational task force. Singapore and the UK are going to focus on policy. Canada is leading that private sector advisory council that was newly announced this year. And the US is just kind of the overall chair. In terms of what these specific action plans say, I don't have that. But that was the way they left the meetings, is that these are the things they were going to be doing and going to be leading action plans on.
Is there optimism about this? I mean, I can't. A group like this getting together, obviously there are diplomatic elements here, but are there any practical things they can do?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the practical things, I'll answer that part first. They have essentially a website where member nations can say, we're under attack by this ransomware group, who can help us? So that would be an example of an operational thing or a thing that's a real, tangible way that their countries are able to assist each other. And according to the White House, numerous countries have taken advantage of that website yet. It's not just a theoretical thing. In terms of the optimism, I think, people think it's good that this is happening, that this initiative exists is good. I think maybe what they would like to see more, if they were being critical, would be more results. I mean, I gave an example of results, but they would want to see more, and they would want to see more aggressive ways to topple this ransomware problem, because even the participants in the White House are saying, hey, look, we're not doing good enough on ransomware. The problem keeps getting worse. So if you're measuring it by that kind of result, you can say this isn't by itself getting it done. I think it has to be part of a bigger approach, and I think other people agree with that too. Is that this can be one way you can approach the problem, but I think specifically Ann Neuberger and another official had said we need to be doing more of these operations where we take down the ransomware gangs in infrastructure, and even then they say, look, those haven't worked because the gangs rebound so fast. So they say we need to do more of them. We need to do them faster, so that we keep escalating the price. And the way that's worked in some cases is, okay, yes, they've actually been able to force these groups to scramble and have to reform. So they're forcing the bad guys to spend time tackling them.
Mm-hmm.
So you could point to some results, but you can also point to things that say, and maybe it's not enough, and maybe it's not enough within the context of the overall problem, and also within the context of this initiative and what it's trying to achieve.
One of the things that caught my eye in your coverage, you quoted Ann Neuberger, she was talking about insurance companies. And it struck me that she was kind of being direct without being too direct about saying what in a way she was talking around the problem, but anybody listening could tell what she was going after.
Yeah, she's very careful in how she speaks. She doesn't want to get out over her skis too much. But the White House had explored the idea of banning companies from paying ransomware gangs anything. That's something other countries have explored and mostly abandoned. She's saying that's the case too, but it seemed like she's like, we need these. She said we need these insurance companies to be involved because sometimes they're part of the people who are paying the ransomware gangs, and so they're trying to discourage that without going all the way toward forbidding it. And it'll be interesting to see how they manage that line, because one would require a law, and the other maybe you can get some stuff done without it. But how much can you get done if you don't say, here's the price you pay insurance companies if you keep doing this? And right now I don't think they can do that. They can only vocally, publicly discourage them from doing that.
Yeah. I wonder too if they could encourage insurance companies to simply not provide that coverage, not sell it. In the same way that we see insurance companies pulling out of areas that are subject to storms and hurricanes, and they're saying this coverage isn't worth it for us. If that would be an avenue to potentially pursue.
Potentially, I mean, one of the things specifically in the cyber insurance world, they have cut back on some of the kinds of coverage they provide, saying, we need you to do these things, company, before we provide you the insurance. They say, we need you to take these kinds of steps. And it's I think it's possible to envision a world where they have a set of steps that are specific for ransomware, even though some of the ways you combat ransomware are the same ways you combat any cyber attack. There's not 100% overlap. So I could see there being a case where if this keeps getting expensive for the insurers, one of the things I found interesting about covering cyber insurance is, I think people hear the word insurance and they think that's boring. But one of the things I find interesting about it is the insurance industry has been around for a very long time. And they know what they're doing, and they know how to make money, and they know what the risks are, and they know how to counter the risks in such a way so that they don't have to pay out. So I think there could become a threshold point where the cyber insurance companies say, look, we're paying too many of these ransomware gangs. We're not going to keep doing it. They might do that on their own, but certainly, a little extra pressure from the bully pulpit of the most powerful office in the land of the world, you could see that having impact.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Tim Starks is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Maltego. Maltego's all-in-one platform for OSINT and investigations speeds up complex investigations from hours to minutes. Trusted by half of Dow Jones and governments around the world, it helps cyber threat intelligence teams, fraud analysts, and law enforcement agencies integrate the most relevant data and enhance situational awareness to combat crime and mitigate risks. Detect threats early and solve cases quickly. Go to www.maltego.com/getademo to explore how Maltego keeps businesses and the public safe. That's www.maltego.com/getademo. And finally, our retail kiosk security desk reports that the code for Redbox DVD rental machines has hit the internet, and a community of tech tinkerers has dived right in to see what makes those big red boxes tick. Naturally, someone decided the best use for this newfound knowledge was to run Doom on one of the machines, because of course that's always the first step in any reverse engineering project. According to 404 Media, in the wake of Redbox's parent company going bankrupt, these kiosks are being abandoned at pharmacies, grocery stores, and other retailers. Some folks have figured out that not only can they liberate DVDs from these machines, but in some cases they can walk away with the entire Redbox. Walgreens alone is stuck with 5,400 of the clunky kiosks, costing them $184,000 a month just to keep them powered. As a result, tinkerers have begun asking if they can just haul these things away, and surprisingly, some store managers are more than happy to oblige. Reddit and Discord are now buzzing with stories of people acquiring and tinkering with these machines. Some are stripping them down, reverse engineering the software, and even discovering old rental data, including email addresses and partial credit card numbers. Others are transforming the kiosks into personalized DVD storage systems, or installing Minecraft, because why not? And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K CyberWire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karp. Simone Petrella is our president. Peter Kilby is our publisher. And I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Quick question. Do your end users always, and I mean always without exception, work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? I didn't think so. So my next question is, how do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps and devices? 1Password has an answer to this question: Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM can't touch. And it's now available to companies with Okta and Microsoft Entra, and in beta for Google Workspace customers. Check it out at 1password.com/cyberwire. That's 1password.com/cyberwire.